Welcome to the Tiffany Mika podcast. What we do here is build the belief in you to accomplish your dreams in your sport. I'll be your mentor and give you the skills, strategies, and guidance to make it happen. Dream big, believe in you, and go after your dreams. Now let's get into today's episode. Hey there, Tiff from Tiffany Mika podcast. How are you today? I am so excited about sharing this episode with you. This has been something that I've been really working on in my own sports, through tennis and golf especially, over the last, I'll say probably the last 12 months, especially the last 6 months, because I had a huge aha moment when I was working through this. So this is what I'm going to share with you today. Something really exciting that's going to help you in your performance area so that you're actually going to perform so much better in your sport. Okay, because we're all about, performing better. We're all about, getting the best out of ourselves in our sport so that we can accomplish our big dreams in our sport. That's what we're here for, right? That's what we want to do. Let's do it. Okay, I'm going to show you. So I've titled this episode, Feeling is the Secret. And you're probably going, what does that actually mean? Feeling is the secret. And I'll tell you this, feeling is the secret. It's actually an awareness, and it's an awareness of two things. It's an awareness of body and it's an awareness of mind. So it's a connection of both body awareness and mind awareness. And it's knowing what to do and it's feeling it as you do it. And this is really where the power is in your sport, okay? It's the body awareness and the mind awareness, and in getting those two connecting, it's the feeling of what's going on, okay? Both mentally and physically, the feeling, all right? Feeling is the secret. That's the title. So this is where the power is in your sport. This is where the consistency is in your sport. This is where you will perform at your best in your sport. This is when you play your sport, when you compete in your sport. This is when you're going to get the best out of you, if you can get to this level, okay? And you can do that, and I'm going to share with you how we're going to do that, okay? Now, when you compete in your sport, when you're playing your sport, you have an expectation that you should be able just to perform, don't you? When you go out there and play, you expect yourself to perform. And the thing is that I find with people is they don't know how to perform. They can do the skills, they can do the training. I was the same when I was competing in tennis when I was especially a teenager. Was that I knew how to do all the skills, but I didn't know how to perform as well as I could have. Every so often I'd get into a zone, like it'd be a fluke and I'd be unbeatable. But if you don't know how to perform in a zone, then how can you expect to perform in one? And how can you expect to compete at the level that you want to compete at if you don't know how to do it? So it doesn't just happen all of a sudden. And this is what we want to take the randomness out of it, because there is a way that you can actually perform so much better, and there's a process involved in how to do it. Okay? So what we need to do is there's a momentum that has to be built to get there. And a lot of people just don't know how to build into that momentum. And that's what we actually need to get to is how we start and then what we create, right? To build that momentum, to create that feeling, okay? So if you've ever been in a zone before and you've competed, you know that feeling, it just like everything flows, it's easy, it all just happens for you. And it's like you can do no wrong. And there's a way in which you can get into that zone more often, because that's what I'm talking about, isn't it? I've been saying, like, if you don't know how to perform and get, to get into that, well, there's a secret to that. And that secret is the feeling. And that's why, I've titled it. I know I get a little bit repetitive, but the feeling is the secret, okay? And there's a process that's going to be involved in feeling is to the secret. And if you keep listening, I'm going to share it with you. So if you don't tune out right now and you go, oh my God, finally I'm going to get the answer to how I'm going to compete better, how I'm going to perform better when I play in my sport, I'm going to keep listening. So you ready? I can hear you saying, yes, Tiff, I'm ready. I want to hear this. Okay. So I'll tell you that it does require you to learn how to focus, because I find that a lot of athletes actually don't know how to do that. They don't know how to focus. They have a lack of focus. So if you haven't got a copy of my book, I suggest that you get one. You can get one directly from me if you go to my website. It's called Focus, How to Reach Your Potential in Sport, Business and Life. A few different stories around different things, but I show you exactly how to get focused, okay? But I also want you to also understand that getting focused is actually not as hard as you think if you know how to do it, right? Like there's a technique involved. There's a skill involved in getting focused, just like there's a skill involved in whatever it is that you're doing in your sport. Like if you tennis or you serve, you got your technique that you're doing for that. Or, I've just started learning Hapkido, so I'm really excited about that form of martial arts. So it's, technique of learning how to do a side kick or something like that. It's really understanding how you can get zoned in and focused on how to perform your shot better, okay? Now, the thing here is it's also going to require a conscious awareness. So before I actually tell you how to do it and how you're going to be able to play better in your sport, I'm going to have a question that I'm going to ask of you, and there's something that I'm going to ask of you to go and do. You don't have to do it right now because you're busy listening to me, but I want you to do this, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to identify how well you hit your shots in your sport. So if it's soccer, like kicking, dribbling, passing, whatever it is, heading, whatever it is, tennis, serve, forehand, backhand, forehand, cross-court, backhand, cross-court, volley, smashes, whatever it may be, golf, driver, full swing, putting, chipping, whatever it is, other sports, passing, shooting goals, or whatever it is, okay? I want you to list all of those skills that were required in your sport, and I want you to give them a rating out of 10. So 10 being like you're really competent and confident with them, they're really, really good, technically correct, or 1, maybe you're just starting out. That's fine, you can give yourself a 1 and you're in learning. I'd put myself as a 1 in Hapkido because I'm just learning everything. Or you might rate it as a 5 or whatever, right? So rate it between 1 and 10, because I want you to be aware of how good you are actually at that skill or not, okay? Because anything less than a 10, even a 9, anything less than those two, you're going to know how to do the technique properly, okay? You're going to have to know how to get the technique right. You're going to have to know how to understand each part of the technique to make that specific skill in your sport work, okay? You really need to understand it, okay? Now, you need to have a good understanding because you need to know how to make it work, right? So that's really important, right? So that's why I want you to give it a rating between 1 and 10. And then once you understand that from a technical sense, then you can practice it much better, can't you? Okay. So years ago, I would have said to you, okay, once you know that skill and you know exactly what to do, you got to hit thousands and thousands of balls or do thousands and thousands of kicks or whatever it is in your skill set that you have to do, spend many hours practicing and getting it right. And because that's what I did when I was learning, because that's what you did when you were learning to compete. You just spent many hours just drilling away. I mean, hit so many forehands, so many backhands, so many volleys, so many serves, and just day in, day out, just doing that, right? But I'm not saying that you have to do that intense unless you're still working on developing the skill, right? So I'd still spend quite a bit of time on developing the skill, and because that's really important. But I'm going to say that you don't need to do it as intensely once you have that skill in place, okay? Now, I believe that you can I skip the endless hours, and I believe that you can actually cut it down and focus more on quality. So it's quality practice rather than quantity practice. Big key there. But I'll also emphasize to you that it is quality practice, not quantity practice, quality practice. And the feeling is of that quality practice is feeling that technique. Okay, it's feeling actually what's going on. So the key point here is feeling the technique. So the awareness of the technique, the awareness of the focus of the technique, and actually feeling it as you do it. Okay, so I want you to be really, really aware that you're focusing on feeling that technique. Okay, big point here. Now, if you know and understand the technique and you can feel the technique and you can feel the movements of what your body's doing, and you are focused on that feeling of the technique in that moment, when you do that, that's where the magic is. So when you do that, you feel the technique, you are focused, you are tuned in mentally, and you can feel the movement. That is complete awareness. That is the feeling. That is the secret to it. That is when you play better. That is when you perform better. That is when you're more consistent. That is when you get into a zone. That's the difference, okay? That's where the secret is. That's the magic, as I call it. So that sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? All you have to do is feel the technique, be focused mentally, tuned into what you're actually doing in that technique or that skill. So you can feel the movement, you're connecting with the movement, you're completely focused in that moment. That's it. Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? And it actually is pretty easy. But the thing is it's training yourself mentally and physically so that you have that awareness. So that's the technique and the focus, isn't it? Those two things. So now you know the secret to it. How can you do it? Right, so you've heard it. How can you do it? How can you make that happen? Well, I want you to go and test this out. And I'm going to give you a challenge that you can report back to me what you've discovered. Okay, so on that list of skills that I asked you to complete and give a rating between 1 and 10, what I want you to do is I want you to pick a technique or a stroke that you scored pretty high on, somewhere between 7 and 10. You thought I was going to say somewhere about 2, didn't you? I tricked you. So we're just going to leave that alone for the time being. I want you to focus on what is achievable, because what I find is too many people focus on what they do wrong and they don't focus on what they do right. And I want you to look at what you do right. Okay, this is what the focus is going to be, is something that you're really competent with, something that you're very confident with. Okay, so again, I want you to be focusing on the picking that technique that you have confidence around, or that skill that you have confidence around. Now, what I want you to do then is I want you to use that skill, whatever it is that you're going to do. I want you to go and hit balls with it. If that's what you do, you're a ball sports person, you go and do that. Or if you're, into karate or cycling, whatever, or the technique or whatever it is, I want you to go and focus on that. So if let's say you're a golfer, you go and hit, if you're really confident with your driver, you go and hit 20 to 40 balls with your driver, okay? Or you go and, if you're a soccer player, you go and do 20 to 40 golf kicks or something. Or if you're a cyclist, you go and cycle for 20 to 40 minutes focusing on what that technique is. Or if you're in martial arts, focusing on what a round kick is or something. I don't know. You pick something and you focus on that for a period of time, okay? Now, these are the questions I want you to ask yourself after you've done that. I want you to ask yourself these questions. What is it that I did to make the shot work, or that skill work? So that's the first one. Second question I want you to ask yourself is, what do I feel that I do when I'm doing that skill? What is it that I'm feeling that I'm doing during that skill? Third question, what do I do mentally, and what is my mental awareness around it when I do it? Okay, I want you to tune into that and answer that. Number 4, what am I thinking about specifically when I'm doing that skill? So am I thinking specifically on making that skill happen, or am I, more vacant in the brain, and you just let it happen? You don't think about it too much. You focus just on the feeling, or where's your mindset focus on? I want you to be aware of what you're thinking about. And number 5, are you feeling something specific when you're doing it? So what's that thing that you're tuning into that's actually going on there? Is it a physical thing that you've tuned into? Is it a mental thing? Is it both, that you've really tuned into what you're feeling? Because there's going to be some sort of feeling going on when you're doing it. There's going to be some sort of mental feeling going on when you're doing it. Okay? Some sort of mental thing that you're aware of, that you're feeling, some sort of, or focused on. There's some sort of feeling in the skill that you're actually feeling that's going on to make it work. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating awareness that you have, okay? That you're actually something that you're aware of, something that you're feeling, something that your mind is actually doing when you're executing the skill, right? I want you to be aware of that. So what you'll notice is that when you're doing that, you'll notice what's going on, right? Physically and mentally. So you will notice that if you're really tuned in. So if you're really tuned into what's going on, when you hit a good shot, or a good skill, good technique, you'll feel something specific in the technique that'll be going on, and you'll feel something specific mentally that'll be going on, like some sort of focus that'll be going on that makes it work. That's if you're really tuned in. Now, if you're really tuned in also, when you hit a bad shot, right, you'll also notice that the technique didn't feel quite right, felt off, something was missing slightly. The mental focus was probably not the same either. You were thinking about something else in that skill. Maybe it was something else in the skill itself, or your mind drifted off somewhere else of where you're going, what you're going to have for dinner. Now, if you can feel the difference between the two when you perform that skill, like when you do it well and when you don't, then you've made a connection with the feeling, okay? You've actually been tuned into what that feeling actually is. And then when you get that feeling of how to make it work, which will be the combination of the mental tuning in and the feeling of the body movement, that's it. That's the secret. That's pretty simple, isn't it? So when you've got that feeling of the technical aspect, whatever that feeling is, and you're tuned in mentally, and whatever that thought process is, if you've got both of those, like dovetailing together, gelling together, working in unison with each other, then that's the secret. That's pretty easy, isn't it? How easy is that? Just tuning in and feeling it, right? And you are very much in that feeling mode. That's why I've called this episode Feeling is a Secret. So then when you have that feeling, your intention is to replicate that skill every single time. That's it, because you know then how to make it happen. And that's where your focus should stay. So the thing that I also want you to be aware of, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to be quite repetitive when I say it, is never, 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 ever, never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever focus on the result or the outcome of the result. Never, ever do that. Focus on the feeling, right? Mentally and physically, because feeling is the secret. And if you can do that, not only will you be more consistent in your performance, in your skills, not only you'll be getting into a zone more and more often, you'll actually be performing and competing better. And remember, if you can do it and you can keep working on repeating that, my friend, that's where the magic is. And that is feeling is the secret. So I hope you really enjoyed today's episode. Love it if you could share with me what you like best about what you heard today. Love it if you could also reach out and share with friends that you know that would really benefit from these, unless you want to keep it to a secret for yourself. Feeling is the secret. But I'd love it if you could share it with friends if you'd like to, or keep this little magic to yourself. That's okay too. I understand. But reach out and share with me. Love to hear from you what you found and what you discovered about this. And so send me an email if you get a chance, or leave a comment down below if you get a chance, and do that. So for now, what I want you to do, go and practice feeling is a secret. Create magic in your life. I want you to dream big, believe in you, go after your dreams, and then go and make it happen. Take care. Talk soon. Bye for now.